So this week I realised that last month was my 2-year anniversary since I went on my very first car camping adventure down in Minnis Bay. So to mark this occasion, I thought I'd make a little video covering the top 5 things that I've learnt over the past 2 years. If you're new to my channel, I have a 7-seater Vauxhall Zafira MPV, and I have both a solo setup and we have a couple setup too. Now on my channel you'll find the actual car camps themselves, but as well as this you'll find a whole host of tutorials and how-tos, all of which will hopefully help you on your journey too. I try to get out at least twice a month, sometimes slightly more, and all of my adventures so far have been overnight ones. It is still part of my plan to do a multi-night adventure at some point soon. And nearly all of my car camps have been in my home county of Kent. And this is the first thing that I've learnt. The fact that car camping is an ideal way to explore the area where you live. I mean, I've been to so many small villages and seaside towns, places that I would never have visited. And some of these have even been on my doorstep. And you know what? Because they're so close to me, that's why it would have never occurred to me to visit them. And I can safely say every car camp I've done so far I have thoroughly enjoyed. Now the second thing I've learned about car camping, and I think to be honest is one of the more important things, is that car camping enables you to have a mini break. So a mini break from the stresses of life, a mini break from work, and it is in essence just like having a holiday. And whilst a car camp for me involves going out after work on a Friday evening, I mean I've been looking at the audit as well, and as far as I can see I think we might have done something. Actually wait a minute, sorry. I'm only working half day today. I'll see you later, bye bye. And then coming back on a Saturday morning, I come back as if I feel like I've had a proper break. And to be honest, it's not just me. My wife has found the exact same thing too. It is surprising how refreshing less than a 24-hour break can be. And I suppose because sometimes that's all that we really need. We just need that chance to get away, rest, and recuperate. And given the current financial climate, car camping is definitely cheaper than staying in an Airbnb, for example. And I'm not just saying that. Recently I went to an event on Brighton Beach. Now if it wasn't for the ability to car camp, I wouldn't have been able to afford to go to the event because the cost of the Airbnbs in Brighton was so expensive it would have made it unaffordable. And that's the prime example of when car camping can also be super useful. Now the third thing I've learned is about having the right kit and equipment. Now I made a top 5 video about a year ago, and to be honest a lot of those top 5 still ring true now. But as a quick overview, one of the most important items for me is my trusty Porta Potti. Now the reason why the Porta Potti is so important to me and why I always talk about it is because the Porta Potti basically means, quite simply, I have a toilet inside of my car. It gives you the ability to not have to worry where you're parking because you don't need to be near to public toilets or a restaurant or anything like that. In essence, you can park wherever you want to, and for me that's one of the biggest stresses that I would have. What if I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and it's howling wind and lashing rain? I'm not going to want to get out of the car. But with the Porta Potti that doesn't matter. No matter what the weather, no matter what the location, I can always go to the toilet. Now another item I bought which is invaluable for car camping, and I think you can just about see it there off shot, is my Jackery. Now granted I need a Jackery because obviously I do filming when I go car camping, so I need to be able to charge my camera batteries and my drone batteries, and this is why I love the Jackery. I've got a GoPro battery and a camera battery all on charge at the same time. But where the Jackery comes in handy is that it enables you to use 12-volt items. Now I have a 12-volt lunchbox which I do use occasionally. It has varying degrees of success with that, but the main thing I use the Jackery for is my 12-volt kettle. Now for me my 12-volt kettle is so important on car camps. It's what I used in conjunction with my thermos to basically cook all my food and to make all my drinks. So be it pot noodles, couscous, porridge, and of course coffees. With the Jackery and the 12-volt kettle I can do all of that. And the thing for me, of course, is the reason why I prefer using the 12-volt kettle in the car is that it means I don't have to use the gas stove in the car. And what I've found personally is that when I was using the gas stove in the car, when I was stealth car camping, the carbon monoxide alarm was going off. If ever you wanted to know if my carbon monoxide alarm worked, it is. And this leads into another important point around equipment, in that it is good to have different variations of different types of equipment, because basically you can use different things dependent on where you're car camping. So for example, I can use a gas stove if I know I'm going to be by the beach, or I'll use my 12-volt kettle and a thermos if I know I'm going to be stealth car camping somewhere. But the same applies if you're going somewhere, say like a campsite. I mean, we've been to a campsite once as a car camper, and when we went there I was able to use this. Now this is our privacy tent, and we were able to use this as both a kitchen and a changing area. So by having different variations of different kit, it basically means camping in different locations becomes easier, and you can tailor your kit to where you are. And this leads nicely into number 4. Basically, if you take nice, simple, easy food, then it can make your life a lot easier when on a car camp. And like I just mentioned, basically the 12-volt kettle, I can make pot noodles, I can make porridges, mashed potatoes, couscous, I can take crisps and snacks with me. And to be honest, if you're only going away for a 24-hour period, all that food is absolutely fine. And the double bonus is, by eating that way, then you don't need a cool box or a fridge or anything like that, because the food is all dried. And even my milk, what I have are these UHT milk sachets, and they don't need a fridge either. Now the last little thing to mention in this section is that I have learned that it is super important to have effective blackouts. So my blackouts I had made, and I've got a separate video that I'll link below that I'll show you how I made them, and I've also got another video where I show you how I black my whole car out. But I would say that is a massively important factor, especially if you're stealth car camping like I tend to do a lot of the time. So in this video I spoke about when car camping is illegal, and basically it's if you're parking somewhere where you're not allowed to, or if you're drunk inside your car. And also the biggest advantage of being on a campsite as well is that this is officially the first time you've ever seen me having a drink on a car camp. But outside of these two factors, if you're stealth car camping like I do, then basically you can car camp wherever you can legally park your car. So for me that's meant residential streets, supermarkets, beachfronts and car parks. And then this is where the total blackout bit comes into it. By being totally blacked out, nobody would know you're inside your car when you're in any of those locations. And then furthermore, this is where the other stuff comes into it, because if you're cooking using the 12-volt kettle and just that type of stuff, and you have your Porta Potti, then basically you can be in the back of your car in any of those locations, totally blacked out. Nobody would know, and it's like your own little stealth hotel car on wheels. Basically, when you get to a destination, you check in, you sort yourself out, you chill out, you do everything you need to do, and then when you check out in the morning, you leave. And the final thing I've learned is around how to find your car parking spaces in the first place. Now I do use the normal Park for Night app to an extent. I also use the Ringo app for the council car parks to an extent. But probably the thing that I found to be the most effective at finding parking spaces is actually Google Maps and then Google Street View, because between the two of them you can really see what an area actually looks like, and that can include being able to see any parking restrictions that may be there. Granted, you can't read all signs, but most signs you can, but you get an idea if car parks allow car camping, you get an idea of road restrictions, and to some extent you even get an idea if the ground is flat or not, because for me that's quite an important part for car camping. I don't sleep particularly well on large gradients, I've learned that. And let's just say I discovered why you don't park on a slope. Your inner ear, it goes a bit weird. But equally though, what I've learned, if the gradient is only 2% left or right, then if you lean into the gradient, then that counteracts it. And that is it. That is the top 5 things that I have learned in the 2 years that I've been car camping. But what things have you learned during car camping? What lessons have changed the way that you do it? Comment below. Let me know. But otherwise, that is me all done. So until next time, take care.